Okay, so continuing along, now we know that Imam Abu Hanifa turns to ilm and he becomes a student of knowledge. So, what kind of a student was he? How did he go about pursuing the deen? Imam Abu Zahra writes that we the relationship between Imam Abu Hanifa and his main sheikh, who was Hamad ibn Sulaiman, may Allah have mercy on him, was such that, and he writes, all we know is that Imam Abu Hanifa stayed with Hamad until he died. He did not start teaching on his own until after Hamad died, and he took the latter's place in his circle, which he had vacated by his death. Imam Abu Zahra then writes that Hamad died in 120 after Hijri, and so Imam Abu Hanifa must have been in his 40s, he writes. And so Imam Abu Hanifa did not teach independently after he was 40 and obviously mature, physically, intellectually, even though clearly he was capable of teaching before then. And I think in that is a very important lesson. We're talking about one of the four great Imams, and he didn't rush. And so nowadays, many people want to be to be khatibs and imams and sheikhs, and the reality is none of us are those things. We just aren't. We're professionals in these various disciplines, and at best we can read these books and we can encourage each other towards khair. And I believe that we have a duty to do that, but we should also know our limits. The ulama were ulama for a reason. They studied and devoted their lives to the knowledge and the pursuit of Islamic knowledge, just as we have done our PhDs and our MDs and our JDs. I think we all have a duty to encourage each other towards goodness and khair. That's the purpose of these videos, but with limits. And the limits are, we should follow the righteous predecessors. They didn't rush. They did what they could. They never overstepped their bounds. Now let me read you an excerpt which really highlights this in a beautiful way from the life of Imam Abu Hanifa. So Imam Abu Zahra writes that it is related from Zahr that Imam Abu Hanifa said about his connection to his Sheikh Hamad. Now Imam Abu Hanifa is writing this. I accompanied him for 10 years, and then myself urged me to seek leadership, and I wanted to withdraw and have my own circle, my own halakah. One day I went out in the evening, resolved to do so, resolved to go and start my own halakah, but when I entered the masjid, I saw that I couldn't do it. I saw that I would not be happy to withdraw from Hamad, and I went and I sat with him. I took my spot and I sat with him. That very night, Hamad heard from a relative of his in Basra that he had died, that someone had died leaving property, and he had no other heir but him. So Hamad told Imam Abu Hanifa to sit in his place, as he was his best student, while he was away to Basra. He keeps narrating. I replied to questions while he was away that I had not heard answered by him, and I wrote down my replies. When he, Hamad, returned, I showed him my questions and the answers, and there was about 60 of them. He, Hamad, agreed with me on 40 and disagreed on 20, meaning 66%. He continues, I decided then not to leave him until he or I died, and that is what I did. So Imam Abu Hanifa, one of our great ulama, decides that he's ready for his own halakah, he's ready to start teaching people, feels uneasy breaking from his sheikh. Allah's qadr allows him to get that experience because of the circumstance. And when his sheikh comes back, he concludes that he's not ready, even though he's clearly qualified and worthy, and he decides and resolves to stay with him for the rest of Hamad's life. And this is a lesson in humility, which I think all of us can learn from. When we go to the masjids, and our imams are sitting there and teaching, and people might complain or say this, who are we in comparison to Imam Abu Hanifa to challenge the ulama and the scholars of our time? We should sit. We should sit with humility, and we should learn from our scholars, our ulama. And I would finish by saying our local ulama. Again, inshallah, it is my hope that these short videos encourage people to learn about Islam, and they help people. But I would also highly encourage anyone listening to this to go to your masjid. Go sit with your imam. They're the ulama. They're the ones who are most deserving of our attention. And we should be their students, just as Imam Abu Hanifa proved to be an excellent and worthy and righteous student of Sheikh Hamad.